John Lee, Senior Fellow at the Hudson Institute. John, thank you so much for joining us. Let's start with this move by the Chinese Customs Department. Does it mark a promising start or should it be taken with caution?
Well, it's an indication that the Chinese are prepared to try a different tactical move with the new Labor government. With the previous Morrison government, it was pretty clear that the economic coercion and punishments they were issuing weren't changing the policy direction of Australia. So this is just an indication to the Labor government that if we do offer some sort of softening of our policies towards China, then this may be something that China may give us. But I would note that we shouldn't really jump for joy about this kind of announcement, because the measures China has imposed on Australia have always been illegitimate and illegal. So for China to now stop behaving illegitimately and illegally, that's really just getting back to square one. That's not really any kind of breakthrough as such.
So we know today Penny Wong will meet with her Chinese counterpart in Beijing. In your view, what is the trigger for relations to go back to normal? What does China need to do to prove itself here?
Well, I think there are some things that are incompatible. China wants Australia to not be as proactive as we have been in countering some elements of Chinese behaviour, both within Australia and in the region. So, for example, China doesn't like AUKUS. It doesn't like the Quad. It doesn't like our foreign interference legislation. It doesn't like our scrutiny of Chinese investments into Australia. It doesn't like our banning of Huawei. The Labor government has correctly supported all of these measures. They're not going to walk those back. So I think the Chinese probably won't be getting what they want, but at the same time, they know that their coercive tactics against us hasn't worked. It's made them look, it's come across very poorly in the region. So it's really China trying to regain some kind of lost face, I would have thought.
So in your view, what should be the priority for Penny Wong in this meeting?
Well, the priority should be to wind back the economic measures against us and to get the two Australians freed, because they shouldn't actually be under arrest in China in the first place. But the key is we shouldn't offer any concessions for that, because those measures against us were never appropriate or legitimate. So our beginning point should be that these economic measures should be dropped, and that begins a normality means that China behaves like a normal country. It doesn't impose these arbitrary measures against another country.
Australia and China have been at loggerheads for years. Why now? Why has China decided to accept a meeting at the very least right now?
It's just a change of tactics. It's clear that it wasn't going to shift the Morrison government. We now have a new government in Canberra, and it's China being opportunistic and trying to see what kind of concession they can get from the new Labor government. Now, from the statements of Penny Wong, I think Beijing will be disappointed. But these measures that Beijing has had against us for the last few years, that's been very damaging to China's reputation overall. And I think they're just trying to find an off-ramp for themselves without looking like they are offering any concessions themselves.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what happens here on in. John Lee, we have to leave it there. Thank you for joining us this morning.